So the budget committee meeting for Hillsboro School District 1J is now in order. Our first agenda item is to elect a chair to conduct the meeting. I guess traditionally that's me, but could be anybody.
I nominate you.
How's it work, Michelle? Do we just, is it like an official?
Yeah, it's like a consensus.
Okay.
You have to follow rules or something.
Okay. I've been nominated to be the chair of the budget committee for this meeting. I've been nominated, and it's been nominated by Director Thomas and seconded by Director Pantoa, that I be elected as the chair to conduct this meeting. Does anybody have any objection to that?
Budget committee meeting, I can't see.
All right. Thank you. I am the chair of the meeting, I guess. All right. Travis, we start with you in the budget message, right?
Thank you very much. I have it here, and I think you have it in your packet. I will read it out. Dear Hillsboro School District Budget Committee members and patrons, in accordance with ORS 294391, I submit to you the Hillsboro School District 1J proposed 2024-25 budget. Because this is the second year of the biennium, we are able to approach our budgeting process with much more certainty than last year. As a reminder, we had to approve our 2023-24 budget based on both the assumption that the allocation to K-12 education might only be $9.9 billion and also the hope that it could be as high as $10.3 billion. It wasn't until Sunday, June 25th, that elected officials finally closed the 2023 legislative session, and we knew that the state school fund would be $10.2 billion for the 2023-2025 biennium. For the Hillsboro School District, that allocation was exactly what we needed to maintain an actual current service level budget, but only because we had been very judicious with our ESSER 3 funds and because a majority of our student investment account dollars are supporting allowable expenditures within the general fund. ESSER 3 dollars officially expire on September 30, 2024, which provides sufficient time for us to utilize our remaining $4 million for the 2024-2025 expenses. These funds will support the second dean position at each of our high schools, evening staff at our Pathways Center, technology assistants for our elementary schools, as well as positions to help address enrollment hotspots at schools, among other priorities. Another impactful bill that passed during the 2023 legislative session was House Bill 3198, the Early Literacy Initiative. This bill authorized the allocation of $90 million in non-competitive, application-based annual grant and aid to K-12 school districts and public charter schools for the implementation of comprehensive early literacy plans over the course of the biennium. HSD applied for our grant in early January, right when the window opened, and will use the money to support teacher professional development, intensive summer school programs, and direct student tutoring throughout the school year. We weren't expecting much budget-related activity in the short 2024 legislative session. However, we hoped Governor Kotek would follow through on a pledge she made to allocate funding to districts for summer school programming. While there were initial indications of up to $50 million, $30 million were ultimately allocated for that purpose. HSD's portion of the fund is $1.5 million, which will be used to support credit attainment programs at our high schools, bilingual summer school, and work-based learning opportunities. Partners in that work include the City of Hillsboro, Portland Community College, Champions, and Centro Cultural. Oregon school funding was the spotlight in November 2023 as labor negotiations in Portland Public Schools became contentious, and the Portland Association of Teachers went on strike for a majority of the month. Farther south, Salem Kaiser Public Schools announced $30 million in immediate reductions after settlement of their license contract. Headlines from the district side were around school funding in Oregon being insufficient and based on a quote-unquote broken system. Those from the legislative side were that K-12 education had been funded at the highest level ever and that districts were given what they asked for, that being $10.2 billion in state school fund. We witnessed pretty broad statements being made from local constituencies, and what exactly did it mean? What are the specific potential actions that we could take and next steps? A task force was convened at the state level to begin looking into the possibility of a statewide salary schedule for educators, and the governor has indicated that she intends to deeply study and bring more transparency to how Oregon funds schools prior to the 2025 legislative session. Over the coming months, and also in advance of the 2025 legislative session, we will be developing more concrete talking points and advocacy materials with respect to the K-12 budget. We understand there are many intricacies to take into consideration. For example, there are 197 K-12 school districts in Oregon, and they vary widely in size and circumstance. The amount of money available to them depends on many factors, including but not limited to the overall number of students, number of students who qualify for additional weighting in the funding formula. For example, language learners, students experiencing disability, pregnant and parenting teens, students whose families meet the definition of migrant workers, students experiencing housing instability, etc. When a district's bonded or their unfunded actuarial PERS liability, whether or not districts have a local option levy or other local taxes collected in support of schools, whether or not districts have been able to pass a capital construction bond, and if there are any leftover funds from that bond for ongoing qualifying expenses, unique specific needs of the students they serve, accountability, ability to recruit and retain staff, contract obligations, and so on. While it's not the only answer, we do know that the percentage of Oregon's general fund and lottery budget allocated to K-12 education has declined by approximately 10 percentage points over the last 20 years. Meanwhile, over that same period, Oregon's general fund and lottery budget has roughly tripled. K-12 education received 44.77% of the state's budget in the 2003-2005 biennium. 20 years later, in 2023-25, that portion was 30.5%. If K-12 would have received 44.77% of the 2023-2025 biennial budget, it would have equated to $14.99 billion rather than $10.2 billion we received. Back to the 2024-2025 school year, while we do not anticipate broad reductions to our budget, aside from the smaller amount of ESSER funds available and the shifts that will cause, mostly impact central office functions, we are in the midst of bargaining with both our licensed and classified unions. The outcome of bargaining could affect how we approach staffing and programming as we work within our balanced budget. Please stay tuned to the Budget Matters page of our website, as well as our regular communication channels, for information about budget-related developments and the upcoming 2025 legislative session. We also encourage you to reach out to your senators and representatives to share your feedback. Elected officials appreciate hearing the voices of students and families as they make their important and difficult decisions. Thank you, as always, for your continued partnership and support. Respectfully, Travis Ryman.
Thank you. Next up is the proposed budget presentation. Michelle and Jeff are here with us.
Available? Ready? Okay, thank you. Rose, can you have any budget committee members on?
We do.
We have Dustin Rose, Christine Adam Wanberg, and Zarmina Khan.
Thank you. I can't see them. Welcome, Budget Committee members. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know the time has been a little bit different from what we initially planned, but very thankful to have this time with the Budget Committee. We're going to go ahead and get started. I have with me Jeff Jones, and he's going to talk a little bit about the document as we move through the presentation. You guys should be aware by now he's pretty critical when it comes to pulling this information together and sharing it with you. So that we have, could we advance, please? I don't have the clicker. Excellent, thank you. This is the agenda for the evening. It follows along a similar format that we've used in the past as far as what we share during the Budget Committee meeting. We elected Chair Watson for the chair of this committee as well. Superintendent Ryman just delivered his message. We're going to look at the proposed budget document that you guys should have had access to, I think, as of Thursday last week. There will be some time for committee discussion and public comment, and then hopefully we can approve it for adoption. We have had 2 other work sessions with budget updates, so everything should be kind of following along the same lines as what we've shared already. Please advance. So check the box on our elect chair, and just a little bit on the committee role for folks that may not have been to this type of meeting before. There is local budget law requirements for this committee that it's the same number of appointed community members as on our 7-member school board. We do have 2 vacancies on the committee still after lots of recruitment efforts, so I'm hoping that we will continue those and be able to round out our committee moving forward. One of the things that is underlined here is because sometimes there's some misconceptions about the role of the committee, and it's the purpose of the committee members, and during discussion, it's not to set staffing levels, it's not to manage programming or anything like that. It's much higher level in terms of appropriations and the great questions and discussions we've had in the past. Please advance. Please advance. All right, and so this is the point where I'm going to hand it over to Jeff Jones, our Manager of Business Services, and he is going to talk about the organization of the document, kind of the look.
Thanks, Michelle. I just wanted to take a minute to go over a little bit of the document that we put together. And I know most of you are aware that over the last few years, as a district, we have been making a more concerted effort to be transparent with our budget document. And in that process, the presentation we've been going for is the Meritorious Budget Award, have been the guidelines that we've been following to try and be more transparent with the board and community. So that I wanted to go over just kind of the format of what that award requires us to do. And also share that on page, I guess it would be II in the document, we have our certificate from last year that we received the award for the 23-24 budget. And then also for those who got to see it last year, we moved the budget format, which explains the document as what it's presenting as a whole, to just before the executive summary. So it's not within the summary, it just explains the whole document. And there we'll discuss the first section we have is the executive summary. And in this section, it just basically, like it says, it summarizes the information. It's pages 1 through 14 in the document. And it's in that presentation, really kind of takes all 3 sections and takes it down into a summary, condensing the budget message, the highlights. It has forecasting and other things such as debt and student enrollment. And then next is our organizational section, which is pages 15 through 36. And in this section, it contains general information about the district, including our levels of education, our geographic location, the number of schools and students we have in our district, and any significant policies, as well as a few pages of our strategic plan. And the third section is the financial section, and that's pages 37 through 90, and it contains all the district funds and descriptions of our significant revenue and expenditures, including prior year actuals and our forecasted amounts for the next 3 years after the current budget that were proposed. And then the last section is our informational section, which has historic and projected numbers for personnel, property taxes, performance measures, and then it also has something that we chose to continue including in the document that's not required, but we have a retrospective dating back to 2016-17, kind of detailing what has happened each year with the funding that we received and what we had to do budgetarily each year. Take this one down. So the next slide we have up here shows our fund balance trends. And I just wanted to point out that we also added some additional stuff in the document. It's on page 7 that details our prior year fund balance, and then also shows what we're projecting for each fund's ending fund balance going forward through the 27-28 school year.
The bond, so go back one, please. The bond essentially done. It's kind of surprising to see that much yellow construction in the upcoming years. Is that we're doing construction out of general fund, or is this remaining bond dollars that are just?
Remaining bond dollars.
Gotcha.
So you can see from 22-23, this is similar to the issue we had last year, where there was just more revenue than we could predict at the time of budget development. So next month, we're going to bring forward, and it's coming up to talk about a supplemental budget, which we have discussed. So that's why the fund balance report for 23-24 looks like it does. That will be adjusted as we redo the appropriation.
That's more like I'm surprised to see stuff in 24, 25, 25, 26 still construction. So,
There's a lot still going on.
all right.
Thank you. Next, we just have the tab here that shows, that kind of highlights what our funds are. So the first three numbers within our account code structure are the fund numbers. And the main one is our operating fund, which would be the general fund, which is Fund 100. And we use that all for our operations and as unrestricted funds. And it's where we distribute our state school fund money. It goes into the general fund to be used. The other funds we have would be the special revenue funds, which would be all of our 200 funds. Here is generally put as 200, but we have almost enough funds to cover all the 200s within our account code structure, ranging from local, state, and federal funds that we received. And all those funds are to be used in a specific manner. They're required to be spent based on the guidelines of the agreement in which we were given the money. So this would include things like ESSER or the IDA, Title I, High School Success, or any of those. And other major funds that we budget on are their debt service fund, which is Fund 300. That'd be paying back our bonds. And the 400 fund is the capital project, as Chair Watson was talking about, as that is reducing as we pay down the bond. And then we also have an internal service fund. This next slide is showing the second set of numbers in our account code. It is 4 digits, and that's our function. And here we have the explanation. This pie chart that we have is for our general fund, showing the operating budget that we have. And then these numbers are also reflected in our budget document on page 56 and through 58. And then page 58 has a 3-year forecast of what we see for the general fund spending. And then, so the 1,000 functions are where we would classify, put classroom teachers and specialized educators that are in the classroom providing direct instruction to students. The 2,000 function is for support services, so like nutrition, transportation, facilities, the district office. The 3,000s are for any community services, which a lot of our food that we purchase for nutrition services is usually coded out of this function. The 4,000 function is for capital projects. Any like large fixed asset items out of the bond that we're purchasing would be coded to a 4,000 function. 5,000 function is for our debt service. 6,000 in our budget is contingency. And then the 7,000s would be a fund balance. And within the budget document, pages 59 through 67 actually have a detail of all the functions that we use throughout our budget document with an explanation of what each function is for. And then the next one is the objects. This is where we identify more of the 100s would be salaries, employees pay, extended contracts. The 200s are the benefits and tax-related costs to the district. The 300 object code is for services, personnel services. ESS that we use for our subs would be coded here. 400s is for supplies, any kind of supplies and materials that we use. 500s is for equipment, and this is for anything that is over $5,000 for one item. And the 600s would be, it's categorized as other, but it's where dues and fees and our debt services and stuff would go. And then the 700s is if we have any transfers, and in the budget document, the 800s is where we put our contingency and fund balance. And then just kind of note, 82% of our costs in our operating fund come out of the objects 100 and 200. 82% covers all of our personnel costs that we have for the district.
Other districts say things like 85%, 87%, so weirdly, it seems like 82 is a little low for us. Is that, like, do you have a sense of comparison with other districts in the state or whatever?
I haven't really compared very closely. I know that we're just leaner in general. So what we need to keep the lights on and, just run our operations.
I think in comparison, sorry, Michelle. I think in comparison to some of the other large districts, they do their subs out of their own payroll, so it would be included in the 100 section and the 200s. Ours is in the 300s because we outsource the service, so it's not included in that personnel cost. So our percentage would be a little bit lower than the likes of like Beaverton or Pro.
Makes a lot of sense. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you,
Yep.
Jeff. Thanks for this overview. On some operational notes, we have our tiered licensed staffing targets. These are staying the same as they have. When we went into the biennium, we were targeting to keep things stable and the same, and we have managed to do that as our staffing has rolled out for next year already. We don't use temporary resources or we do use temporary resources to kind of augment our operational budget, it being our strategic plan. That's something that we've also been talking about year after year, and it has multi-year reach on it. Our student investment account is based on stakeholder feedback and current ODE requirements, as we've done in the integrated guidance and the plan and all the reporting for that. So this is another touch point to share about that. And then one of the things that we're really watching, honestly, are the bargaining outcomes for next year, because the budget is done, it's balanced, it's ready to go, the staffing is complete, but we haven't settled our contracts. And so if there's a variance between our contract settlement and what is in the budget, we'll have to have a mid-year course correction to make ends meet. Moving ahead, thank you. These are our outlook and assumptions. So full current service level appropriations, actual service level appropriations, that means we're not planning any reduction other than the planned reductions that have been kind of sourced by temporary funds, by the ESSER funds, as those are closing out. We've really tried hard to make them last as long as we could, but they are closing out, and that is going to feel like a reduction to certain staff members or certain support. We're also assuming that no material legal settlements will occur during the fiscal year, so that is something that we always think about, and we have risk management keeping an eye on that. We are maintaining a 4% general fund balance. We've had a lot of discussion about fund balance, but this doesn't appear to be a surplus year, and that we would likely increase that and be able to maintain current service level. Any costs exceeding projections will be monitored and managed within appropriation levels. So that's a big part of what our office does, is check for savings in certain areas and understanding that other areas are costing more, just like as you're managing your household budget. That's a big part of what Jeff and I and his team do. We assume the economy is going to continue to stabilize and grow. Oregon has more money now than it has ever had. The kicker is kicked. Everyone is happy. There is, signs of slowing growth and increased inflation, and that impacts us the same way it would any other service business. And we also, it seems a little silly to say, but it assumes the same number of school and staff calendar days. So except for very targeted instances where we are providing professional development for certain staff members, everything else is going to be the same. So no additional school days and no less school days planned. All right, other highlights. We've been talking a lot about our student enrollment decline. It is appearing to flatten, but we're still in a decline right now with a minus 1.5% this year. And we are going to bring more information to you probably in May about what that looks like based on our internal projections, and then also what our demographer provided to us. And as you know, I've talked a lot about how student enrollment does predict our funding regardless of what's happening in the state. If we're declining in enrollment, we get funded on a per student basis, so that will impact our funding as well. Our fund balances that we target are to maintain stability. We're hoping to maintain full funding for the student investment account and high school success. They didn't always start out fully funded. Neither one of them did, and we are hoping now that they are there, they will remain that way. Expiration of the ESSER 3 and the ARP funds, we have been planning for that for a while. And again, it may feel like kind of a reduction to certain staff, but we had a 3-year plan from the beginning of the administration of those funds, make them last as long as we could, but they are going to be gone next year. And then the spend through of bond funds, Chair Watson mentioned, what does that look like? Well, you're going to see a request tonight to approve a purchase for some of those remaining funds. And between supply chain and other issues, the expenditures that were planned for both 22, 23, and 23, 24 have just come later. So that's what you're going to see there. Advance. And this is just a slide on the breakdown of our student investment account. It should look fairly familiar to you. I think I have it in pie form as well. It's color-coded for your viewing pleasure. We have, those are required categories by the Oregon Department of Education. The areas that the student investment account funds could be used: class size, caseload reduction, student health and safety, which in Hillsboro has the lion's share of the funds of this grant. We have increased instructional time, which in Hillsboro is funded for after-school programming, and then well-rounded learning, which would include any investments in curriculum support. Pie chart, student investment account, that's what it looks like in pie form. All right, and this is kind of what we talked about too when we were on that fund balance page. So as you know, through our ACFR, our financial report last year, we had to write a corrective action plan because our appropriations changes exceeded the amount allowable under law. And part of our corrective action plan was to bring it back and report on you how we're doing this year. We do anticipate bringing a supplemental budget forward next month. It doesn't require budget committee approval. It requires a specific publication and then approval by the board. We are getting ready to bring that to you guys in May. And again, it's likely, it's due to many of the same issues we had with 22, 23.
My recollection is mostly supply chain, mostly intended to buy a thing. That thing wasn't available until after the period of the budget calendar had expired. So you wanted to buy it in February, you couldn't get it till October, it ends up being the subsequent year. Is that about right?
That's a lot for the construction funds. For our special revenue funds, most of it is ESSER, where we have a spending plan, and we're either unable to acquire that thing or unable to find those staff. And so that rollover is larger than what we had anticipated. So that's what you're going to see in it. All right. Erica,
Hand up, all right.
you have a question?
Yes, hi everybody. First, I just want to say thank you, Jeff, for your presentation earlier, and Michelle for walking us through that. I'm always really impressed and proud of our budget documents, and no surprise that we got an award last year. And one thing I did wanted to point out in one of I know we kind of walk through the different amounts in different places, but when I came on a while ago, our contingency fund was super, super low. And I know it's still low, but I just wanted to point out that that's been like an ongoing, trying to get that even to 5% has been a long-term goal and effort. And I'm just really happy to see that on budget. So I just wanted to give you all a shout out. Thank you.
Guess we're at questions and discussion. So anyone else? Budget committee members, board members? I asked questions along the way, so. Go.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I wanted to ask a little bit about how the assumptions were made, in particular with regard to growth in salaries. It says on page 2 of the budget that assumptions are 3.0% growth in salaries, and it also says in the budget that the general fund operating revenue is projected to increase by 9.4%. So I was curious, since salaries is such a large portion of our expenditures, how we came to that 3.0% figure.
Yeah, because the salaries are such a big portion of the budget, like it costs a lot more than that increase in amount in funding would be. Also, there is an increase of $4 million towards targeted things that we were spending on, and Travis touched on this on the message, that things that we have been able to save using ESSER funds this year to pay for general fund items. We will be able to use general fund one time to continue some of those supports one more year. I know that sounds confusing. So that is also part of that revenue increase. Our taxes have gone up significantly, but when we are thinking about a 3% general salary increase, that is added also to a step increase that over half of our employees will receive just in movement, which ranges from 3% for a classified staff member to 4.2% for a teacher that's moving. So that's another, I guess, discussion in terms of how we calculate what those salary increases are going to be. But the number itself is significant.
A little over half of our staff, the general salary increase, which sometimes people call COLA, but I'm not calling it that because it's not that. General salary is, for half of our staff, it's combined with a step of 4.2, so it's not really 7.2 because it's a little bit more than 7.2, but first you do the increase, then you go to the next chart, then you make the step. So for over half of our staff, they get a step increase as well, which is more like a 7.2% annual increase.
So you're saying staff moving to a different step because of longevity?
Every year until classified or licensed staff member reaches the highest step in their category, every year you move up to an increased step. So every year, so I don't have license. I guess I don't know the number for classified because I'm not on that one this year. Until you reach the very top step, every year you move up one step. Correct.
I appreciate that, and I think I had understood that. That's not necessarily budget positive or negative because those would be offset by retirements being replaced by people at the beginning of the step. Right, so step increases are not in themselves budget positive or negative. It would be dependent on the year based on how many people retire and how many people don't retire.
We count them as an increased cost because if you're just looking at how much someone is getting paid in 1 year versus the next year, even with the 0% general salary increase, count as increased costs in the budget.
I guess what I'm asking is, wouldn't it be less in the case of a person retiring at the highest step and being replaced by someone at the lowest step?
Yeah, but that's not typically how it works. Like we tend to keep our long standing employees for a very long time. So that retirement factor, and I would have to get some data with Kana on that, but typically when we're bringing people in and they are likely to have experience that would have them placed higher than that very first step too. So it's not a complete straight line, I guess, for what you're saying.
Wouldn't it also be that only about 10% are retiring in any given year, and if 50% qualify for the increase, you've still got 40% of those people moving up. You're only
There's not as many
retiring out maybe 10%.
Right. I guess I'd have to follow up. It seems that if the median length of service of an employee in the district can't be always increasing, or the median is never going to be 100 years because people don't serve that long. So that you're going to have a stable median that's going to fluctuate somewhat in terms of the amount of years an employee has served in the district. And so, if the median doesn't change, why would costs increase from experienced steps? Is, I suppose, something I'd have to follow up on more.
Yeah, I recommend that we get together and look at that data together, because that's a good question. A big part of that 3% increase is based on our historical experience. So I'm really relying heavily on that in terms of informing what our current service level is going to cost based on movement, which is a different angle than what you're looking at, but I would really like to sit with you and look at that.
I didn't know on the licensed bargaining committee until our last session. It's been very informative. I highly recommend doing it if you get a chance to. We have more columns in our steps than some nearby districts. So as at least our licensed staff have an opportunity to increase their subject matter expertise in an area, they can move from one column to the next. So bachelor's degree is one column, bachelor's degree plus 30 hours or something goes to the next column, which is a higher increase. So as licensed staff increase their subject matter expertise, they can move to columns with higher stratifications as well, which is kind of cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that until last bargaining session. Look at Mary Kay. Thanks. Yeah, it was very informative session last time. And the differentiation I was trying to make is that we have 6 or something stratifications, where some districts only have 3. So our staff has an opportunity to move up to a higher paying, not just step, but also to a higher paying category by going back to school and getting more education credentials. Other questions? Christine?
Hi, yeah. So thanks so much for the presentation and everything. I just want to again compliment the district. I complimented them last year, but every single year I think your budget document gets better and better with regard to the information that's provided, and the ability to kind of explain a lot of this information in a more user-friendly manner. So I'm really happy that we as a district are continually trying to provide good information to the public and everything. So congratulations also on your budget award. I know that was very hard work. You worked for it so hard, and you've done a great job on it. So I really appreciate that. And I think the budget document, when I've read it and everything, I think it just really underscores a lot of the challenges that not just our district faces, but many other districts face as well. So I appreciate the information in there, kind of just explaining some of the environment in which our district works in, because I think it's really informative. And I wish more people had time to read it, or even just the first few pages, because I think it's a really good document. So anyway, congratulations. I think it was very well done.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you for your support and for being here tonight.
Sure.
Questions? And I would say just updates from the bargaining committee front. Oh, Yvette was in it today, on the classified side, and on it's been important in our room to make note that we have a pretty collaborative relationship with all of our union partners. It's going to go back and forth. There's going to be drama and whatever, but I feel like we're all working towards the same goal of having as many qualified teachers and the best teachers we can in Hillsboro. So I know things may change a little bit based on the outcome of our negotiations that are in process, but yeah, I don't expect our district to face the budget shortfalls that we've seen in some neighboring districts. Put it that way. Is that a judicious way of putting it? So I don't expect us to have to lay off a ton of staff. That's my hope anyway.
Mark, I would like to just mention the slide needs corrected. Our budget hearing and adoption would be scheduled for June 18th, 2024. I was really focused on getting a great picture on this slide and the dates completely. So our implementation will still be July 1st, but 2024. So I'll correct that slide and we can get it re-uploaded.
On the committee agenda, I think now we ask for public input. Do we have any public input regarding the budget? The next agenda item would be additional committee discussion. Is there any additional committee discussion regarding the budget document? Any more hands? Nope, we're good. All right, possible action. So I believe looking for a motion to adopt the proposed budget. Is that about right, Michelle?
Yes.
Would anybody like to make a motion?
Christine's hands up.
Christine, go ahead.
Yeah, I move that we approve the budget.
Second. It's been moved by Christine and seconded by me that the Budget Committee for Hillsborough School District 1J adopt the proposed budget. Is there any further discussion? Do we call the roll? I suppose so, right?
Yeah.
Rose, can you call the roll, please?
Sure. Best to go.
Sure.
Dustin Rose.
Here and approve.
Darmina is, hasn't let herself be elevated, so I don't know that I'll be able to get her. Zarmina Khan.
She may not be able to speak if she hasn't been elevated, right?
Okay, hold on. She's gonna let me let her join.
Okay.
Zarmina Khan. Christine Adam Landberg.
Aye.
Hi, it took a while to get me promoted. Here and approved.
No problem. Okay, thank you, Zarmina. Ian Kim.
Aye.
Erica Lopez.
Aye.
Patrick McGuire.
Aye.
Nancy Thomas.
Aye.
Monique Ward.
Aye.
Yvette Pantoja. Aye. Mark Watson.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item is to review next steps. Michelle, do you want to, I guess that's what the slide was for?
Yep, next up, we did have a question slide, but I feel like we already had the discussion, so, and have the approval, so thank you very much.
All right. The Budget Committee is adjourned. Thank you all for being with us tonight.
Thank you, bye.
Thanks very
Take a
much.
second.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Take a second to transition, but basically we'll go right into our work session. The work session for the Hillsboro School District 1J is now in order. All we really have is board discussion time. So this is where I wasn't that concerned about getting in late, but also I knew we had a little room at the end, but try to do discussion downstairs as well. So anybody have anything they would like to share up here? I don't want to steal Nancy's thunder, but in regard to the budget, the ESSER funding coming to an end as pandemic relief, as Nancy often points out, we will be dealing with the effects of the pandemic for much longer than those funds have lifespan. So I don't want anyone to think that as the ESSER funds run out, we as a board think, okay, we're done dealing with the pandemic, because we're not. So just a little side note.
Mark?
Yeah.
If we have some time, I do have my NSBA kind of report that I wanted to share with you all. Wonder if maybe I just do it now instead of waiting till later.
That'd be great.
So does that mean you want the OSB now?
Sorry, NSBA.
We don't have, no, I think OSBA was last, oh, like you had a board meeting at OSBA? Oh, all right. So yeah, it's not on the agenda, but yeah, we could do that too. All right, perfect. That'd be great. So Eric had the opportunity to attend National School Board Association Conference.
Yes. Hi, everyone. So one of the things I wanted to do was try to find sessions where I felt were more on like leading edge or had things that we might consider looking at or things that have come up from what we heard from families or students. So I have 4 that I gathered materials from, and I'm going to send in an email to our HSD leadership and to you all so that you can look through the presentation materials. But one of them was from the board in Toronto, I believe, in Canada. So we had board members, and they're like the largest school board probably in the world. They have a lot of different students, and they're also a very diverse school district with over, I think, 100 languages spoken. And one of the things that they have done was around strategies of combating hate and racism in their school district. And they have a portal for complaints. They also have a board policy that accompanies this that I thought was just phenomenal, really well thought out in their whole process. And one of the things that I also appreciated it was that it was a very easy to follow process. I think we've heard in the past about just complaint process or how to have a process that's easy and accessible to people, to our community members or parents or students. And this really was very succinct, and the information and communication to share out on how to do it, I thought was also really helpful and centered around community members and students, and trying to resolve issues at the lowest level was one of the things that I appreciated from the presentation. But it also had a pathway. So like, where does it go? And it gives you that content as well. And then the other thing I wanted to share was there was our neighbors, PPS. There was a presentation on Student Summit, and I know last year we did our first kind of summit HSD kickoff, which was really well received and attended, and it just spurred an idea about a student version, if you will, a student leadership version around that. And they actually had their board members attend the summit and had like a panel almost, so that students were able to ask questions of the board, and it just gave students really easy access to decision makers and leadership. And we do have our student reps as well. So I thought that was also a really great possible idea to explore. And our neighbors, we could probably talk to them about how they have done it in the past for more details on coordination. And then lastly, one of the other sessions I wanted to share with you is we have our strategic plan. And there was a session on how to make sure that the strategic plan basically doesn't end up, on a shelf collecting dust. And I was really happy to see that a lot of the ideas and strategies that are mentioned there are exactly what we're doing and our best practices. So it was really reassuring to know that like we're doing best practices around our strategic plan and how it gets implemented and how it stays at the forefront of our district and decisions that we make. So I thought that was a really helpful slide. And of course, had really great keynote speakers. And I'll have some pictures on there for a local context. His name is escaping me now. Gustavo Balderas, our superintendent over in our neighboring district of Beaverton, it actually came out and did a welcoming speech as well, as he's the equivalent of NSBA, but for superintendents, the association, he's a president this year. So that was a great familiar face to see over there as well. But I'm gonna send the email to you all. If you have any questions, feel free to follow up with me. And again, I highly recommend that. And a plug for CUBE conference, which I think CUBE is centered around urban school district school boards and school districts. But one of the things that I have found or heard of is that a lot of the speakers actually from CUBE are the ones that we bring to OSBA at the state level, but they also have more specific strategies and I think new ideas, especially when we're trying to tackle subgroups. And I think that's one of the things that we have in our goals. Our strategic plan is looking at subgroup data and thinking about specific strategies that impact those subgroups. So I'm linking that information on there as well. And now I'll cede the floor to Nancy.
Thank you for representing us at the national level, Erica. NSBA conference is always great, so if you get a chance to go, highly recommend it. Nancy, you have something you can share out from the OSBA board member meeting?
Yes, so last Friday and Saturday, Friday night was the OSBA board meeting, forgive me, and then Saturday was the legislative policy meeting. I wanted to report out, it was kind of important based on prior things that have happened with OSBA. This was an important meeting as the organization tries to course correct, for lack of a better term, from last fall. As many of you are aware, that the prior OSBA Executive Director, Jim Green, asked to be placed on administrative leave after their September meeting, and then and that was as a result of a dispute with regard to a whistleblower complaint and the resulting investigation. Immediately following that was additional stress on the board based on conduct and hurtful words that were exchanged among board members in public meetings, and apparently this then impacted staff greatly, and so there was lots to talk about. I would like to say, however, given all of that, that I am very pleased to report that we are almost done with the negotiations with Jim Green's separation agreement. You can believe it's gone on that long, it has. And then I can also say that we conducted a facilitator-led healing session for the board so that we could move forward. Although it lasted until 11:30 p.m. on Friday night, it was completely and totally worth it, and I feel good about my small contributions toward that healing and that process forward. It was a very raw and emotional meeting, and we went from 5 p.m. to 11:30 p.m. So I drove back home and then turned back around the next day and came back at 7 p.m. So it was wonderful. I will say that on Saturday, for me, quite frankly, was the highlight. I was glad to be a part of the healing part of it that happened on Friday night, but the legislative policy session on Saturday was pretty eye-opening, and it was fun because I realized that there are many more people, there's a lot of people who feel the way we do. The number one subject that we talked about was the desire for stable funding. Every district said the same. It was absolutely unanimous, hands down, whether you were rural, urban, it just didn't matter. Everybody wanted the same thing, and I thought that was very, very important. So they focused on teaching us how to deal with the legislators and how we deal with this whole huge class of legislators who are new. I think over 60% of them, that is scary, are new. And the question is, how do we talk to them? How do we get their attention? And how do we get what we need, if you will? And so we talked about ways to do that. We also did have a good discussion about chronic attendance discussion. I thought that was interesting. I know we're not perfect, but I had to say that I didn't feel that we had a chronic attendance problem. I think every school district does. The question is where your percentages are. And so it was very interesting to have some of those percentages. You know, I looked up our percentages and other people were comparing their percentages, and we're right where we need to be. I didn't see us being out of.
We'd like to improve.
Everybody, well, let me get to that part. It was clearly obvious that everybody felt that there was something that they could improve on. Everybody did. So that was kind of eye-opening. And then we talked about the current state of public district funding in Oregon, and that's where the conversation got extremely animated, for lack of a better term, because we all have very strong views about the way we're currently being funded, about the fact that it's not working. It's working for somebody, we just can't figure out who. Even the rural district said that they didn't feel like it was working as well, and that was eye-opening for me, because as we are the fourth of the big four, but we are fourth by almost 20,000 students, right? And what it helped me to understand is that we are still a little bit rural, we're a little bit country and a little bit rock and roll here in Hillsboro. And that puts us in a really special point of view. But the point is that everybody recognizes that the way the funds have been made and distributed, and the fact that some of us, meaning the big four, are exporting tax dollars, and it all came out, and I wasn't the one that said, I was thrilled to death to see other people saying the very same thing. So they're really, really trying to get it. They've just hired another legislative analyst for the organization, so now we have two. And they are really going after the legislators to help educate them, and how we can help to educate them, how we should speak with them, what we should talk about when we're with them, and the effort to really get them to look at funding as far as making it stable. There was great excitement, for lack of a better term, about what the current governor is doing, and at least the fact that she's supports the idea that there has to be a better way to do it. I see the current governor doing the same thing on other things that also children. And I see that in my day job from the Oregon Department of Services, where she is again at the table saying we have to do things different. So that was very encouraging, for lack of a better term. So we were talking about, and they are talking about very firmly, they want to discuss, and the governor again has taken on the gauntlet that she wants to have the discussion about teacher funding across the district. They threw up the numbers and showed us, and it was absolutely gobsmacking, for lack of a better term, the differences between the base salary pay among the districts. It was indicative of many things, part of which is, of course, incomes and tax brackets, and the tax base that is in different areas. But then some of it still didn't make any sense, because even though you've got money, that means nothing if you have, I don't know, a tenth of the students that everybody else does. So it was very interesting to see that happen. But I was glad to hear that they are looking at this seriously, and to try to avoid us being pit against each other when it comes to trying to get the teachers that we need. So that was very encouraging as well. And then they even asked us what are some fixed costs that lawmakers forget about when they're discussing the education funding. And that was a good conversation to have, because everybody, it was very easy for everybody to identify the things that they just don't consider because they don't know anything about it. They are not all Janine Solomon, who's been on the board for 8 years and know what can and can't be done. And that's the problem. That's what everybody agreed was the problem. We don't have long-term legislators who have experience with being a board member and understanding how the funding actually impacts on a daily basis. I mean, there was conversations about the, the current funding level, current service level funding. And I apologize, well, maybe I don't apologize, but I've laughed at that. It's very difficult for me to accept us talking about current service funding level when the children aren't there. Well, if the children aren't there, then how can we talk about current service funding levels when they are 5 years to 6 years behind, and or they have needs that have exponentially increased that we are not being funded to provide? So it really was a really good meeting, and it was good. And then the last thing I wanted to say was that they were actually saying goodbye. That was the last meeting of the legislative, Lori
Stansfield.
Stansfield, thank you. Oh. Yes, that was her last meeting. So we gave her flowers, and she was quite passionate, and there were many tears shed about all the problems that the board has had over the past since September. And she pretty much put it full like, I do you sorry. So it was really a good meeting, and I just wanted to share it with you all. And so there you go. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity. But the next time I will not be coming home at 11:30 at night and then getting up to drive there again.
Yeah, your hotel room. I feel like I got a hotel room once.
The problem was they indicated that hotel rooms were only for those members who were driving more than 2 hours.
Oh.
And then because this took over at the last minute, we went to 11:30. Then they offered rooms. I was not prepared to stay. So.
Right. Well, thank you for representing us at the state level. I think some would suggest that the problems with OSBA go back more than September, but I still consider it to be a worthwhile organization, and we're saving. And I really think some of the you, Tristan, Christy, I think many of the new board members are the right people for the job. So thank you. Take a quick 5 minutes, I guess. We are at the point where our student representatives are coming to the end of their term, and we need to consider new ones. I know. She's like, yes. We're like, no. We will need a few board members to conduct interviews with students. Right now, and I'm looking for actually your guys' input a little bit too. We have 4 candidates who have expressed interest from Century. We have 1 candidate from HOA. It feels like those are manageable tasks. For reference, last year, Erica and I interviewed 8 at Glencoe and 8 at Hill High in one day. It was kind of a lot, but kind of manageable. We have 12 applicants from Liberty High School. I don't know that would be manageable, so I'm open to suggestion from y'all, like we do a paper, we do a lightning round, then like what would, to avoid trying to have board members do 12 interviews in a day, because I don't think that would be productive. Do you have any like if you were part of this process, you had to go through the process before, what would you sort of consider to be a respectful, appropriate way to handle getting 12 down to 6, maybe?
Taking like a cover letter and then like a CV is just like a nice, easy way to actually like look at applicants and then see if they meet the criteria you're looking for. And it also kind of saves applicants time of going towards like going to the interview and then going through all of that too, I guess. Or even like maybe like a group interview for the bigger groups from the schools. And then that way narrowing it down would be like fair and easier.
Your thoughts?
This could be a reach, but you can really test their determination and ask them to record a video
Oh.
should be picked.
We could do that with our superintendent candidates, actually.
Yeah, it could, I feel like it could just like really show you the determination. I feel like that would actually stray away a lot of them. Because also a big reason for this position is you have to, be confident when it comes to social anxiety. So, if some fear away from it because of their social anxiety, that shows you that they're not fit for the position.
I think last year you did something similar with the Zoom meeting, just to introduce us to the rest of the candidates.
Yeah.
I think re-implementing that again this year, just to show that if they're interested, they'd come to the Zoom meeting, and just see how much, compared to how much are interested to how much will actually attend the Zoom meeting.
I mean, if you want, we can report to you what they ask, and we can.
Yeah.
I always ask that. I always do.
So maybe set up the Zoom with our current students like soon, like pretty quickly. And then it may be some of those 12 are less interested talking to the people currently doing the job and find out what it really takes. Are you guys open to that idea? Like doing the Zoom with prospective candidates on the somewhat quick side, somewhat soon side?
For the ones at our schools, I mean, I can do mine in person if they want to come talk to me.
It's not from your school.
It's Liberty and Century and HOA. It's Hill High and Glencoe and Oak Street 1 year, and then it's Century, Liberty, and HOA the next year, and then it goes back to, so yes, there's nobody at your school, but not because nobody was interested, not because it's a great candidate pool, it's because the way we structured things. Yes, that's the idea, yeah. Yeah, so I kind of like that. If we could set up the Zoom with prospective candidates on the somewhat soon side, they're, after people hear from you about what it really takes, they may self-adjust, right? Yeah, they may go, oh, maybe that's not for me, right? Okay.
And also tell you, like, guys, which ones our favorite ones were, and let's see. Most viable. No bias. There's going to be no bias, I swear.
To the in-person interviews, it would likely be a half a day, right?
For the 12, it's going to be.
Well, if we do 12, but for 4 at Century, so
Probably would do
2 half a days. So a half day at Century and a half a day at Liberty likely. So for board members who might be interested, it's probably like a half a day commitment at Century, half a day commitment at Liberty. We'd want it to be less than 4. We've done it before with 4 and set as a public meeting, but it's easier just to keep it under a quorum. So 2 is fine. If there's 3 board members who want to take the time, that's great too. So I guess please reach out to Rose if you're interested in participating in student interviews for a half a day at Century or Liberty. And I suppose you don't have to do both. If you could find time to do one, you could do one of them. So thank you all for input. Very valuable. And I think Rose will try to set up the Zoom with prospective candidates soon.
If you have any more ideas.
All right. Thank you, everyone. The work session is adjourned, and we will meet down.
The regular session of the Hillsboro School District 1J is now in order. We'll begin today as we always begin with our flag salute. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the room, the flag is in the back of the room there. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. As we gather here today, we would like to take a moment to acknowledge that our district service area is on the occupied traditional homelands of the Atfality Indigenous people, lands we call Washington County in the state of Oregon. We honor the Indigenous people whose traditional and ancestral homelands we stand on, the Tualatin Kalapuya, Kathlamet, Clackamas, Tumwater, Malala, bands of the Chinook, and many other Indigenous nations of the Columbia River. In remembering these communities, we honor their legacy, their lives, and their ancestors. We also recognize the urban, Indigenous, Native First Peoples community living in the metro area, which includes over 400 tribal nations. The Hillsboro School District is committed to the recognition and education regarding tribal and local history and working with our local tribes in partnership. Thank you all for being here. That takes us to recognition and proclamations. And before COVID, we would often have student performances, and it was one of the highlights of our board meetings. And I'm very glad that we are now reinstating this tradition. So with us tonight, our first item is, this evening it is my pleasure to introduce students from the Brown Middle School Jazz Ensemble. These are a mix of 7th and 8th grade students along with their teacher, Matthew Carr. They rehearse on Wednesdays after school for 45 minutes. The objective of the ensemble is to expose students to a variety of musical stylings, including swing, Latin, rock, and funk. It is in this class that they begin to scratch the surface of the art of improvisation, which in essence is the cornerstone of what defines jazz. Tonight will be their first performance of the year. Please help me welcome the Brown Middle School Jazz Ensemble students as they perform for us tonight. And thank you all the parents and family for being here.
Thank you, parents.
Education of the Hillsboro School District do hereby proclaim the month of May 2024 to be Asian Pacific Islander Heritage Month. We urge all community members to join us in the recognition of the many contributions and achievements of Asian Pacific Islanders to the development of prosperity in our community.
Thank you. RJ, I think you have the next one.
The Hillsboro School District acknowledges that school nurses act as a liaison to the school community, families, and healthcare providers on behalf of students' health. The Hillsboro School District knows that students today face complex and life-threatening health problems, requiring care in school, and we appreciate the role that school nurses play in the lives of our students. The Hillsboro School District recognizes that school nurses have served a critical role in improving student health and in ensuring students' academic success for more than 100 years. The Hillsboro School District understands that school nurses are the link between health and learning and are in a position to make a positive difference for students every day. The Hillsboro School District offers gratitude for school nurses who contribute to our local communities by helping students stay healthy in school and ready to learn. The Board of Education of the Hillsboro School District do hereby proclaim the week of May 6th through 10th, 2024 to be School Nurses Appreciation Week. We urge all community members to join us in recognizing the many contributions and achievements of school nurses to the development of prosperity to our community.
Thank you. Aliana, I think you have the next one.
The Hillsboro School District celebrates teachers who mold future community members through guidance and education. The Hillsboro School District honors teachers who are constantly learning so they can adapt to the ever-changing needs of a diverse population in order to open students' minds to ideas, knowledge, and dreams that reach beyond the limits of their present circumstances. The Hillsboro School District thanks teachers who contribute to the growth of our district, city, state, and nation by providing high-quality, equitable education to all students. The Hillsboro School District recognizes that teachers spend countless hours preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling, and coaching students. The Hillsboro School District salutes teachers in their work to inspire students to discover endless possibilities for success. The Board of Education of the Hillsboro School District do hereby proclaim the week of May 6th through 10th, 2024 to be Teacher Appreciation Week. We urge all community members to join us in recognizing the many contributions and achievements of teachers to the development of prosperity of our students and community.
Thank you. I'll just mention briefly that it is also Bus Driver Appreciation Day, and I have many friends in the transportation department, so I very much appreciate that. Would anybody like to make a motion regarding the agenda?
I move that the Board of Directors approve the agenda as printed.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Pantola and seconded by Director Thomas that the Board of Directors approve the agenda as printed. Is there any discussion? Is there any objection? Motion carries. The agenda is approved. Next on our agenda is audience time, and I believe we have a few people signed up.
We have 4.
4. Okay, so I will read. Thanks again to my colleagues for revising the statement to express how grateful we are to have audience participation. As representatives of the community, members of the Board of Directors believe that listening to public input is essential to making wise decisions. So we thank you for taking the time to be here. We consider this your time to speak and our time to listen. So individual board members will not reply directly to you immediately following your comment. If a board member hears something that requires additional attention, they may request it be added to a future meeting agenda, or the superintendent or his designee may reach out to you directly to connect with you. We are fortunate in the Hillsboro School District to have a collaborative community that can discuss points of disagreement in a respectful manner. With this in mind, rudeness, ridicule, obscene or profane language, impatience, lack of respect for others, and personal attacks are not acceptable. Comments aimed at state and federally protected classes are prohibited. Audience demonstrations supporting or opposing a speaker or idea are not permitted. We welcome frank discussions of district operations and programs, but in public sessions, the board does not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member. Public participation in board meetings is governed by policy BDDH, public complaint at board meetings. There are structured channels for the board to review complaints involving staff members described in board policy KL, public complaints. As you start your remarks, please share your name and if speaking for an organization, the name of your organization. We allow up to 3 minutes of public comment. Feel free to follow up by email to the board or the superintendent. Who is our first?
Mike Lohr.
Mike, with it? Okay. Yep, if that's okay with you. Do we have any virtually or is everyone here?
No, I think everybody's here.
Okay,
Sorry.
perfect. Thank you.
Okay, first I'd like to thank Hillsboro School Board. My daughter, Camille, was at Lad Acres, and Ms. Snoppy was principal there. She went to Brown, and she will be graduating from Century this year. But what I'm bringing up today is a little more serious. It's regards to the cell phone tower being placed at Century High School on the football field. So my name is Mike Lohr. I'm president of the Kensington Gardens HOA, which is directly north of Century High School, less than 300 feet away from the proposed cell tower. When we all purchased our homes in the neighborhood, we knew, for the most part, what we were getting into: school activities, sporting events, and even band practice until 9 p.m. 2 nights a week. But we did not sign up to be this close to a cell tower that emits RF waves into our homes 24/7. Was there an environmental impact study done on this project? In many studies, it's only about 3 minutes long. I won't go on forever. In many studies, mainly from other countries, they've documented possible health issues with regards to these cell towers. A study in Australia found that 20 children in kindergartens within nearby cell tower antennas installations that had 3.5 times higher RF radiation exposure than children with installations at least 950 feet away. Cancer rates are more than tripled among people living within a quarter mile of cell phone towers or antennas, a German study found. That's 1,300 feet. This tower is less than 300 feet from many homes in our neighborhood and 470 feet from the school. What about the kids' exposure? So you ask yourself, why did the government, US government, stop funding this type of research? Well, the telecommunications industry is almost complete control of the FCC. There's a revolving door between the membership of the FCC and high-level people within the telecom industry that had been going on for a couple of decades now, according to a Harvard University Center for Ethics. The industry spends $100 million a year in lobbying Congress. According to one of their spokespersons, lobbyists meet roughly 500 times a year with the FCC to lobby on various issues. And the industry as a whole spends $132 million a year lobbying and provides $18 million in political contributions to members of Congress at other federal levels. Hillsboro Community Development Rule number 390 does not set buffer zones or restrictions on placing these towers on school property. Hillsboro should adopt the same policy as West Lynn and Wilsonville that bans cell phone towers from school property. Who do we go to after when health issues arise. Notice I said when and not if. Do we go after the school district, the city, Verizon? I mean, how much is it worth it for the school district to take money for a tower that could be potentially dangerous to our children and neighbors? There's many cities that have buffer zones between 500 to 1,000 feet away from schools and residential districts. I could go on for 15 minutes on the amount of cities that have these type of regulations. They can say that this tower falls under the FCC and CDC guidelines, but they can't say there will be no adverse health effects. So in the neighborhood meeting that was in July in 2023, that was an informative meeting. And at that time, they said that there would be a more formal meeting with city council or city board where we could voice our opinion on the tower itself and impacts to the neighborhood. But come to find out, this Hillsboro School Board had already signed a lease with Verizon even before then. So really the meeting there was not productive at all. So we're just, I have another couple of our neighbors here that are here in support. And we have dozens and dozens of signatures of residents around the school that protest the install of this project. And I'm hoping that the Hillsboro School Board is not considering additional towers on property, school district property, taxpayer property. And hopefully they can do away with the lease once their signed lease is expired. That's all I have. Thank you.
Who's our next person?
Julie Filter.
Julie, are you here? Thank you.
I'm thankful to be here tonight and for everything that the Hillsboro School District does to help parents and students. I've appreciated you putting on your PACS tool and your safety in the schools and community workshops and your technology awareness and social emotional wellness and regulation speakers. But unfortunately, my son goes to school and these things don't really translate into his actual classrooms. He goes to Lad Acres, and last year he suffered all year because there was a child with, well, multiple children with special needs, I think, in his classroom. And I was not aware what he was dealing with. And sorry. When I talked to the teacher later in the year, it came to light that my son was separated from this person because the interactions were very terrible. And not just that, but when you go to the district and you learn about PACS tools and how it's in your classrooms, but when you find out it's not, it's very disappointing. And you think, why is my kid struggling? And later you find out that if your kid has anxiety, the only option is to sit on a mat in the center of the room. And if everyone's sitting on the mat and they have anxiety, they can go sit in a chair by themselves. And so I've tried to get my son into the wellness program at LAD, and it has taken over a year to get him a spot. And I feel like I'm also volunteering at LAD, and I've seen these children with special needs, and what's happening is those needs are not being met in a timely manner. And it's spilling over to the teachers, and it's spilling over to the other students. And it's creating more emotional issues for these children, more mental issues for these children. And I'm here because I want to speak up for these children who do not have a voice. And when I have tried to talk to the school, I've been very dismissed. Even this person, they would grab my child from behind many times, over and over again. And he would have to yell, please, leave me be. And it wasn't until just this year when the child kissed him and then followed him into the bathroom. And I said, you know, it's getting to be sexual harassment. And I was told that that's not the case. And it's just everything is dismissed. And I'm trying to teach my son to have a voice, but when it's taking this much work from a parent to care, I don't see how my child has a voice at that school. And my other son, I never sent him to LAD because of these issues. I sent him to Reedville, and they are very responsible and responsive there. And it's interesting because Reedville, they put out a survey about how the school's doing. What do you think? Well, how could we improve? And I think you're doing great. Thanks for even sending that. But I don't get anything like that ever from LAD. And after speaking to other parents whose children go to LAD, it's apparent that there is a lot of parents who are unhappy at LAD. And I was touring other schools and I run into other parents. I ran into one this weekend whose child was in my child's class. And it's like, I don't think parents are being heard over there. And maybe you can send out something to help these people have a voice.
Who's our next person?
Valerie Smith.
Hi, I'm Valerie Smith, and I have been in this district for 10 years, and I've been at Lad Acres for about 6 of those years. For the last 3 years, I have volunteered weekly in the classroom, and I have seen an increase from the district and in measures to ensure the physical safety of students and teachers, and I greatly appreciate that extra consideration. But I've also seen a dramatic decline in the educational and emotional climate. In every classroom, assembly, special, and extra event I have volunteered for, I've seen a drastic increase in behavior issues and overall chaos. Students should not have to have their education continually interrupted with animal noises from another student, screaming and door slamming coming from the common area, swearing, lack of chairs available in common areas because they get thrown around by us students, defacement of school supplies, regular meltdowns of other students, clearing a classroom or delaying a lesson because of one student's behavior, a student's lunch being smashed, and other food-related violence, unwanted physical contact from other students, rowdiness during assemblies to the point where students cannot see or hear what is going on, students wandering the classroom in common areas and assembly areas during learning time. I have also seen an increase in inconsistency. I have seen one student held accountable while another student is dismissed without consequence for the exact same behavior. And now these are all things that I just listed that I've witnessed this year, this current school year. Everything I've just listed falls under the discipline section of the district standards of student conduct as unacceptable behavior. This certainly does not meet the goal that discipline needs to be clear and consistent, timely, and equitable for each and every student. And the discipline I see is not responsive to the needs of the student who engages in the misconduct, the needs of those who are affected by the misconduct, and the needs of the overall school community. The teachers that I've had the privilege of volunteering with have addressed as many of these issues as they have been able. Teachers have communicated with me as per the handbook guidelines to include parents that when my child has not behaved according to the standards, and I've addressed it at home, I have seen teachers implementing several of the strategies listed in the handbook to improve behavior, but when they have reached out to the administration, there has been little to no support. Without the support of the administration and with the overall climate of chaos, teachers have expressed to me feelings of being isolated and overwhelmed, and the solution of this problem does not lie solely with the teachers. These distractions have had a direct impact on my own children, and I have seen impact on the students, other students as well, both academic and emotional. Students have a responsibility for their own learning, for the supporting of others' learning, and for contributing to the positive school environment through positive character. The disruption of learning should not be tolerated, accepted, or shrugged off. I have seen a member of the administration physically shrug their shoulders when a behavior issue was brought to their attention by a teacher. This is detrimental to the whole class as well as the student who is disrupting, and this has repercussions on the learning climate of the whole school. I understand the need to reach all students, and we need to help students that are struggling. What I see happening repeatedly at Lad Acres is a loud need of one student is trumping the quieter needs of other students. Students are being asked to sacrifice their own needs, their own right to an education for the needs of others. So my question is, why can't all of these needs be addressed? Why is the school not following the standardized system of expectations and consequences found in the district handbook? And how can we work together to provide the best education for all of our children? Thank you.
We have one more.
Yes, Cindy Yen.
Thank you, Hillsboro School District, for your time tonight. It's been lovely sitting here, hearing the band and other wonderful parents. I'm expecting a new young one to join the Hillsboro School District. I'm also in the same neighborhood as Mike Lohr, and I can say that for the most part, it's really delightful to be directly behind Century High School and seeing band practice. Like, those kids really are very talented and they're dedicated. They often practice till 9 p.m. But with that being said, I do feel the need to express my dismay at the installation of a 5G cell tower at the Century High School Jaguar Stadium. It comes with an optional 20-foot extension. And so we can host up to 3 panels of cell phone activity from different suppliers in the area. I'm baffled because the exposure risk to neighborhood students attending to Century High School doesn't necessarily justify this. I'm not sure what funding gap this is meant to address. When I look at local examples, our leaders, former or current, I'm not sure which one, Mayor Ted Wheeler and Commissioner Chloe Udoy has pointed out that studies have suggested that 5G technology increased cancers to those exposed. West Lynn and Wilsonville School Board has banned cell towers from school property. Portland, Oregon schools have ended new leases for cell phone towers. And the City of Vancouver School Board has passed a resolution prohibiting cell phone towers within 1,000 feet of the school, noting that the standard of diligence that the board must assume in protecting students. There must be a reason that local governments and other areas have acted to prohibit and discontinue cell phone leases. I ask that the Hillsboro School Board consider this in evaluating future leases continuing in the Hillsboro School District. Unfortunately, by the time we found this lease, it had already been signed for 5 years at Century High School. There are kids at that stadium practicing, going to band, going to sports events. I ask that the Hillsboro City Board continue to evaluate the usage of cell phone towers in public schools, and also considering following the example of safe distances from children, which is 1,000 feet. Thank you.
Thank you all for being with us tonight. Would any of my colleagues like to make a motion regarding the consent agenda?
I move the Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
It's been moved by Director McGuire and seconded by Director Thomas that the Board of Directors approve the consent agenda as printed. Is there any further discussion? Is there any objection? Motion carries. We now turn to our action item portion of reports and discussions first. Financial report. Michelle, do you have anything to add in regards to what's in our packet?
Thank you, Chair Watson. I do just want to highlight under in the financial report, the narrative under employee services. There's been some advocacy by our benefits supervisor with the Oregon Education Benefits Board and MODA in order to create a streamlined claims process for staff members accessing our preferred plans. And that's really going to increase the amount of money that our members are recovering for medical expenses, out-of-pocket medical expenses. And it was a voluntary opportunity that she decided to jump on that. And that's just one example of how we try to connect the dots to improve our employee services. I just want to point that out. And of course, I can answer any questions you might have about the report.
Does anybody have any questions about the financial report tonight?
Just thank you. I know it takes a lot of effort and we appreciate it every time.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate your team's work on the budget upstairs as well.
Thank you.
All right. Now we are to our action item portion of the evening. Our first action item is to address an intent to purchase. Jordan, do you have anything to add other than what's in our packet? Oh, microphone.
Nothing additional.
Nothing? All right. So it looks like cooperative purchase agreement. Okay. Would anybody like to make a motion? I move that the Board of Directors acknowledge the notice of intent to purchase of Chromebooks, management licenses, and extended warranties from OETC by use of a cooperative purchasing agreement under the authority of the state of Oregon, ORS 297A.215, permissive cooperative procurements.
Second.
It's been moved by me and seconded by Director McGuire that the Board of Directors acknowledge the notice of intent to purchase of Chromebooks, management licenses, and extended warranties from OETC by use of a cooperative purchasing agreement under the authority of the state of Oregon, ORS 279A.215, permissive cooperative procurements. Is there any discussion? This is bond dollars, right?
Yes, this is bond dollars that we reserved for this purpose.
Right, capital. Okay. And these are student devices?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Do teachers get them too?
The teachers all got new laptops over the summer.
Got it. But they don't have Chromebooks.
No, they're Windows devices.
Got it. Okay.
Any other questions? Rose, can you please call the roll?
Sheehan Kim.
Aye.
Erica Lopez.
Aye.
Patrick McGuire. Nancy Thomas.
Aye.
Monique Ward.
Aye.
Yvette Pantoja.
Aye.
Mark Watson.
Aye. Motion carries. Our next action item involves improving the drug, alcohol, tobacco prevention plan that we heard about during our last meeting. Brooke, do you have anything to add?
No,
No? It was a very informative presentation. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions before we want to make a motion?
I move that the Board of Directors approve the drug, alcohol, and tobacco prevention plan.
Second.
It's been moved by Director McGuire and seconded by Director Pantoja that the Board of Directors approve the drug, alcohol, and tobacco prevention plan. Is there any further discussion?
I appreciated the presentation last month. I encourage everyone to have a listen back if you didn't see that and you're interested. Every student deserves to have appropriate and science-based education about how they can live productive lives and lives free from substances that will have a negative impact. And I think our district is leading the way and doing great work in all the facets of this plan, both the education and the support components. So very happy.
Other questions? Comments? Monique?
Yep, I just want to say I had not had time to review the plan in its entirety, so tonight I'm just going to abstain from this vote.
Was there anything more than what we saw in the last presentation?
No.
Okay. Any other questions? Rose, can you please call the roll?
Sheehan Kim,
Aye.
Erica Lopez,
Aye.
Patrick McGuire, Nancy Thomas,
Aye.
Monique Ward,
Abstain.
Yvette Pantoja,
Aye.
Mark Watson.
Aye. Motion carries. Next action item is to approve the curriculum for social study, which is like very exciting. Again, very informative, wonderful presentation last board meeting. Brooke, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Nothing to add. Thank you.
It was, well, I guess discussion time, but yeah, it was a great informative presentation. And nice to see so much consensus around this is the right one. Like that was very rewarding to see that that your team did the work with the teachers, pilot program, and getting consensus around, yeah, this is the right one for our district. I like that. That was great. Would anybody like to make a motion?
I move.
That the board of, go for it,
Go for
Erica.
I move that the Board of Directors approve the proposed K-12 TCI Social Studies curriculum.
Second.
It's been moved by Director Lopez and seconded by Director Thomas that the Board of Directors approve the proposed K-12 TCI Social Studies curriculum. Is there any further discussion?
I just want to say that, Brooke, I was at the Oregon School Board Association meeting last weekend, bragging about the pace and rate at which you bring new curriculum to us. And when you acknowledge that the curriculum was asked for by the students and it's just the process by which it's done, many districts do not do that. So I just want you to know it is appreciated and we brag about you all the time and it is very much appreciated.
This is like a very rewarding time of year to be a board member where we get to prove new classes, new curriculums, things like that. So yes, thank you for bringing this forward. Any other questions? Rose, can you please call the roll?
Sheehan Kim,
Aye.
Erica Lopez,
Aye.
Patrick McGuire, Nancy Thomas,
Aye.
Monique Ward,
Aye.
Yvette Pantoja,
Aye.
Mark Watson.
Aye. Motion carries. That concludes our action item portions. The next, I'll give you just a little heads up before we do this specific one. As you probably are aware, after every legislative session, we receive updates regarding what policies of the districts are required to change in order to remain legally compliant with the new laws. And I guess they came later than expected. So Rose and I had thought maybe there weren't going to be that many, but now there is a bunch. So this one is not amongst those, but you can expect a considerable number of policies to be on review, which means a lot more reading material over the next couple of packets or whatever. But yes, we are finally getting the updates from OSBA about what policies need to change to remain legally compliant. So while we only have one tonight and then the informational ARs, that's going to be an unusual situation going forward. That said, tonight, EFAA, Travis or Saida.
My only reminder on this one was similar to what you were talking about, Chair Watson, was that in item I, we have one policy that will go on review that will eventually result in approval by the board. And then item J is 2 ARs, which are more informational that don't require approval. So I don't have any more comment on I unless Saida does.
So this is first reading. Now is your opportunity for evaluating the new policy and then emailing staff. Looks like Saida's taking the lead on that. So if you have any questions before, if nothing stands in the way, this will be approved at the next meeting after the first reading, or no, next, so probably the regular session in May, right? So second meeting. And just a reminder, yes, as Travis said, we approve policies and the ARs are often the administrative regulations, do we decide which one it is? Rules, okay. Regarding how the administration determines to implement the policy, so. ARs are included for our information and we can ask questions about them as well, so. These are on first reading and you have until May 20-something. 28th to when it'll be up for approval. So, all right. And that, wow, even with a band performance, that concludes our agenda essentially for the most part. All right. HCU and HEA reports. I saw Mary Kay earlier. Oh, all right. Have you decided who would like to go first?
Wait, who won? No.
I am a little short, so I have to. A little. So, good evening. My name is Paola Lopez, and I work as an admin support for the technology department. And I have been working for the Hillsboro School District for almost 14 years. I also serve as a Hillsboro Classified United as the organizer officer. As an organizer officer, my job is to bring classified workers together to help unite us over the issues that impact us and the students that we serve. Sorry, I have a little cold. Our union members are the heart and soul of our schools. Each individual plays a crucial role in shaping the future of our students in our community as a whole. I stand here today on behalf of the dedicated classified staff who serve our students with salute, with passion, commitment, and unwavering dedication. I firmly believe in the importance of making every staff member value and supporting in their roles. One of my passions is ensuring that HSD is an incredible place for our students and staff. Over the past several years, I have helped lead affinity groups, community outreach, and anti-bias education in my workplace. In my work as a union leader, equity has been one of my core goals. This is not just work that we do as a district, but work that we do as a union too. Pursuing equity in our union is about strengthening the bonds that hold us together by building a union that is resilient, inclusive, and representative of our diverse members. I love working for the Hillsboro School District and the union because it gives me an opportunity to help and support our members and create a community where we can work together because we are stronger together. Thank you for the time. And now I want to speak in Spanish. It's my primary language and I love speaking Spanish. Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Paola López y he trabajado como asistente administrativa para el Departamento de Tecnología y he estado trabajando por 14 años en el distrito escolar. También sirvo en la Unión del Distrito Escolar de Hillsboro como un oficial organizador. Mi rol como un oficial organizador es tratar de unir a todo el personal clasificado para ayudarnos mutuamente en torno a los problemas que nos afectan a nosotros y a los estudiantes a los que servimos. Los miembros de nuestra unión son el corazón y el alma de nuestras escuelas. Cada individuo juega un papel crucial en la configuración del futuro de nuestros estudiantes y de nuestra comunidad. Estoy aquí hoy en nombre del dedicado personal clasificado que sirve a nuestros estudiantes con pasión, compromiso y dedicación inquebrantable. Creo firmemente en la importancia de hacer que cada miembro del personal sea valorado y apoyado en sus funciones. Una de mis pasiones es garantizar que Hillsboro School District sea un lugar equitativo para nuestros estudiantes y personal. Durante los últimos años he ayudado a liberar grupos de afinidad, estudiantes de nuestro trabajo. Durante los últimos años En mi trabajo como líder de la Unión, la equidad también ha sido uno de mis objetivos principales. Esto no es solo el trabajo que hacemos como distrito, sino también el trabajo que hacemos como unión. Buscar la equidad en nuestra unión implica fortalecer los vínculos que nos mantienen unidos mediante la construcción de una unión que sea resiliente, inclusiva y representativa de nuestros miembros tan diversos. Me encanta trabajar con la unión porque me brinda la oportunidad de apoyar y ayudar a nuestros miembros y crear una comunidad donde podamos ser fuertes juntos. Gracias. Buenas noches.
Good evening, Chair Watson, Vice Chair Pantoja, esteemed board members, Superintendent Ryman, and fellow leaders. My name is Mary Kay Babcock. My pronouns are she, her, and. I'm proudly serving as the Hillsboro Education Association President, advocating for our licensed educators. It was such a breath of fresh air to hear a music room perform here tonight. I am thrilled to see this tradition being revitalized. And I just want to say publicly thank you to R.A. Brown Middle School Jazz Band and Maestro Matt Carr. This spring has been rich with learning opportunities and professional development through our state, local association, Oregon Education Association. Members of HEA and I recently participated in the I Hear Summit. I Hear stands for inclusion, healing, equity, access, and rights. The day included staff and student Q&A sessions where inspiring narratives of self-acceptance and support were shared, particularly highlighting the experiences of BIPOC and LGBTQ2SIA+ individuals. At the summit, I also had the privilege of attending a workshop led by distinguished speakers Harry Lawson Jr. from the National Education Association Human and Civil Rights Department, who spoke on building power through connection and planning for stronger schools. I also joined Oregon State Senator James Manning Jr., whose workshop focused on how to lead. This workshop provided great reminders of my upbringing in a military family, along with poignant reminders of the importance of pausing to connect with one another amidst our challenges, ensuring we remain focused on our shared values and our goals to support one another in this work. HEA is excited to host an event, first time ever event, called Lifting All Voices. This event is open for both licensed HEA and classified HCU staff and will replace May's First Friday event. All are welcome, and we especially want to welcome all individuals who identify as BIPOC and LGBTQ2SIA+ workers with disabilities, visible or hidden, multilingual workers, speakers, and more. You don't need to be a member to attend this event, and this isn't a membership drive. The goal is to gather insights on how we can create a safe and supportive community within HSD and our unions. Last month, I mentioned the concerning trend of injuries among our educators caused by students. I urge our school board to collaborate with us in fostering safe, inclusive learning environments for both students and educators. The increasing behaviors and workload pressures are significantly impacting our educators' ability to meet individual student needs effectively. During my visits to various buildings this spring, educators have consistently voiced their concerns about student behaviors taking a demonstrative amount of time from adults in their buildings. The impact is immense and has amplified their struggles with safety and workload. Many educators are often expressing, no matter how many hours I work, I cannot get it all done. I cannot monitor students who refuse to be compliant and give my attention to students in small groups. Educators need adequate time for preparation, grading, addressing individual student needs, support to work in small groups, support with follow-through, managing student behavior, and providing comprehensive support to students and families. members of the school board. I trust in your commitment to educators' work-life balance, recognizing its importance in enabling educators to deliver their best to our students. It's imperative that we collectively address systemic challenges hindering educators from receiving the necessary support to make their work safe, manageable, and sustainable. Educators were informed last Friday about both voluntary and involuntary transfers. While we appreciate the effort to retain members' positions, we eagerly anticipate collaborating with the district to ensure our members understand the rationale behind these decisions. Our focus is on addressing concerns such as reductions in secondary special education staffing and seniority-based transfers that deviate from previous practice. Each spring, nearly 1,000 Oregon educators meet to debate the vital issues that impact public education in Oregon and create our union's policy platform, legislative objectives, and new business items for the year ahead. The delegates represent over 43,000 plus educators across the state who are proud members of OEA. This past weekend, HEA had a team of 23 delegates attend the Oregon Education Association Representative Assembly. We also had a team of 7 delegates attend our National Education Association Pre-Representative Assembly. That's a mouthful. That meeting helped us prepare for our national conference this summer in Philadelphia. HEA and HSD bargaining teams have met 8 times for contract bargaining agreement negotiations. In our recent bargain, we did not tentatively agree on any articles, but it was clear that Article 7, unit member workload, was a serious topic to both teams. We look forward to our upcoming bargaining session on Wednesday, May 8th, located at the HEA office site. And lastly, HEA is looking forward to revving up the prize patrol to congratulate our contract teachers. These educators have truly mastered their craft, showing through skills, through numerous observations and evaluations that they are worthy of being contract teachers. So get your pom-poms ready and your cheers loud because it's time to congratulate our fantastic educators for their dedication and hard work. We look forward to celebrating our educators during Teacher Appreciation Week, and our association is looking forward to the annual Proud to Be HSD Festival that's going to be on May 11th. We will be giving away books and have a creation station where students can make personalized bookmarks. We appreciate your attention and dedication to improving our educational landscape for our students and our educators alike. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Next up is discussion time, and we will begin as always with the students. Have you decided who would like to go first?
I really appreciated the band tonight because it reminded me when I was in middle school, I learned to play cello through my school's orchestra. And I think music is something that's so important, especially like instrumental music, like for students, because it just opens up a whole new world. And it's definitely something that we should continue to care about in schools, and it's something that should be celebrated for sure.
I think it's bittersweet thing that we have as student reps. We have 3 more meetings and then it's all over. I mean, I'm excited to see what Century, Liberty, and Hillsboro Online Academy brings, but it's just, this has been really fun. And as I think about my next steps, graduating high school, going to college, and thinking about the next chapter of my life, it's just, I'm always going to think about what being a board of director has brought to my life, and it's just been really great. With that being said, I have a letter that I have to address to the mayor. I wrote it for my college prep class, and when I was thinking about this subject, I thought of just the discussions we had about our board school budget allocation, and yeah, here you go. Dear Mayor Callaway, I'm writing to advocate for strategic budget allocation within the Hillsborough School District to address the concerning decline in the percentage of our state funding for K-12 education. As a student representative to the Hillsborough School District Board of Directors, I bring knowledge and dedication to this discussion with a proven track record of advocating for equitable and strategic success within HSD. Strategic budget allocation is imperative to bridge a gap between allocated funds and actual requirements, empowering student success and ensuring a high-quality educational experience for all. The decline in state funding poses a significant challenge to our educational system, forcing schools to contend with inadequate resources that hinder student success. Insufficient funding can lead to larger class sizes, outdated instructional materials, limited access to technology, and reduced opportunities for extracurricular activities. Implementing proactive measures aligned with educational priorities and community needs, such as levies, analyzing budget structures, and prioritizing funding for education, essential programs, and resources is crucial. While critics may express concerns about potential disruptions, strategic budget allocation ensures that resources are directed towards initiatives with a greater impact on student success and educational quality. By prioritizing student resources effectively, we can create a more efficient and equitable educational system that better serves the needs for all students. In conclusion, embracing strategic budget allocation within HSD is essential to address the challenges facing our educational system and to ensure that every student receives the support that they need to thrive. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration and commitment to know, value, and empower every student to achieve their dreams. Sincerely, RJ Penalia.
I didn't expect it to be that long. I just want to begin with thanking that band. That was really amazing, especially because the man that was in charge of all of it was my kindergarten band teacher. So I remember him. I doubt he remembers me. But I also wanted to thank this board's efforts into making our district a better place. Because every meeting I come to, I always realize that how fortunate we are to have a district that actually cares about us and gives people a platform to speak. And if anything, that's actually inspired me to run for ASB president, because I love the fact that I don't see having these places of leadership, these higher places of leadership, as anything above a regular student. I see it as it gives us the opportunity to give others a platform to speak. And I took that to my advisor, Mrs. Cole, and I'm like, oh, you know what? I'm running for my entire board. So I go by the motto unity in diversity. And I actually have my interview today, and it was actually by surprise because they didn't tell us at all. So I'm really happy about that. And like what RJ was saying, is 3 meetings left, and I still remember in the back of my head. It was the retreat we had here, and I was here for like 8 hours, and I was like, "Is this gonna be every meeting?" And it was still really fun, but I still remember it was like yesterday to me, and to know the fact that it's almost over, that I'm like we're just passing down the torch. It's extremely bittersweet, and if anything, I'm happy to look back on it and be like, "Hey, I made friends with all these people."
Thank you so much. 3. I didn't think about that. Wow. That hits you right.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'll leave the country this year. So hopefully I'll be able to do an orientation session with them before that first meeting so they know this one's an anomaly. Yeah, that's a lot, that first one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we hadn't had a chance to even talk, and you guys spent 8 hours with us. Next up is Superintendent's time.
Thank you. I also wanted to appreciate Mr. Carr and the parents and students who provided us with cool performance tonight. That was a great way to kick off the meeting. Also wanted to appreciate community members who shared comments with us, and per our process, I'll work with Yvette and Mark to follow up with a little information on those topics. Wanted to appreciate our budget committee, Michelle, Jeff, the board of directors for all the attention to detail and the hours of reading and thoughtfulness that went into the creation of our budget and the approval tonight. I appreciated Christine Adams-Warnberg's perspective that it's helpful to know the context in which we host that budget situation, that dialogue that we had tonight. I believe that whether you're a parent or an industry partner or if you just care about our community, I think we all have a vested interest in the creation of a balanced school budget and advocacy for stable and adequate funding in our state. And I appreciate that that's the stance of our board and our budget committee and our students tonight. So thank you for your comments related to that. I also wanted to thank Jordan and Megan who are here tonight. It's a big lift to get Chromebooks to all of our students, and that was a very small agenda item with a whole lot of work that went behind it. So I appreciate our tech team. Also to Brooke for her leadership with curriculum development, which she was already thanked for, but that's an awful lot of work as well. So thank you for that. That's all for me.
Thank you. We did have on the agenda the NSBA report, but we discussed that upstairs. So once again, just thank Director Lopez for representing us at the national level and Director Thomas for representing us at the state level. Thank you guys very much for that extra duty in your volunteer role with the school district. Somebody the other day said to me, "But you get paid, right?" I'm like, "No, that's not a thing." All right, so board of directors time. We'll start on our screen. Monique, you are on the far left. So do you have anything you would like to add tonight?
Yes, I'd like to echo and say thank you to the community members that came out and spoke on those topics, and thank you, Superintendent Ryman, for going forward to following up on those issues. So I appreciate that with you and with Mark and Yvette. Also like to say thank you for the work on the budget committee and all the presentations, giving us heads up and an understanding of the whole budget process and things that are going on. So that's been extremely informative this year, and I really appreciate that. That's all I have this evening. Thanks.
Thank you. Sheehan, do you have anything you would like to add tonight?
Just want to echo the appreciation for community members and parents coming out, as well as all of the presentations. So thank you.
Erica, do you have anything you would like to add tonight?
Just also thank you for staff and community members and our student representatives. It's always like bittersweet as the year comes to an end. We see you grow so much, just finding your voice and the way that you engage in our meetings. I think from the beginning until now, we see that growth, and we also appreciate you being here. And I know I reported early on my NSBA attendance, but one of the things I forgot to mention, or I wanted to mention more on my my board time, was that one of our speakers at NSBA was, or keynote speaker for the conference was Ruby Bridges. And many people may recognize that name, and she was only 6 years old when she integrated an all-white school as the first African-American student. She is 68 years old, and she came and it was super vibrant and loving, just an amazing energy to the conference. But it was also a reminder that it wasn't that long ago, and it's just so impactful to hear her story, and also how much the teacher in that classroom really protected her and helped her, and how that relationship was so important. So it was just probably the highlight of the conference was to hear her speak, and I just wanted to share that with you all.
You.
Erica, you shorted out when you said her name. Can you please repeat her name, please?
Ruby Bridges. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Nancy, do you have anything you want to add tonight?
No, but you say no, but. So sorry. Thank you for the time earlier to give you the OSBA report, and to these fine young people. Thank you. I know we're not done, but I think it's good for you to recognize that time is coming and drawing that. And it's been such a pleasure. And I'm telling you, we brag about you all the time. I mentioned it again this weekend at OSBA, and it's still amazing to me how many boards do not do this. This is really super important. I know things are not perfect here. I know everybody doesn't get what they want. And I know the teachers don't get paid what they want. The classified side doesn't get what they want. Nobody gets everything that they need. But I choose to be here. And it's worth being. Imperfect as it is, growing, developing, and trying to get better. I choose to be here. So, thank you.
Patrick, anything to add tonight?
Yes, there's so many good things happening here in Hillsboro School District, and it's wonderful to celebrate those. In the 2 years I've been volunteering on the board, we haven't had student presentations, and I've been so eager to get back to having those. I know before the pandemic, before I was on the board, they used to be, as Chair Watson said, common, and so such a beautiful reminder of why we're all here to have them at the beginning of the meeting. I appreciated the public comments on the situation with the cell phone tower and Lad Acres. I look forward to getting more information about the FOLA, so thank you for being here. I appreciated Paola and Mary Kay for their on-the-ground reports of what's happening in schools. That's so helpful to us to know the challenges, but also the positive things that are happening that you're seeing. One additional thing I wanted to mention briefly is that I, like a lot of people probably, enjoy following Pew Research's occasional surveys and reports on different parts of American life, but I pay special attention since I've been volunteering on the board, when they do a report on education. And in this month, they just released a study on what it's like to be a teacher in America today. And it was very interesting. It uses a statistically valid sampling of teachers from across America. And the picture is one that, speaking frankly, does have challenges. And so I think it's important to be aware of those. They found that teachers right now, 82% say the overall state of public K-12 education has gotten worse over the past 5 years, and that the teachers have 18% lower job satisfaction than U.S. workers broadly. And what was perhaps even more startling is that 52% say they would not advise a young person starting out today to become a teacher. So that's over half of current teachers. And they cite challenges such as poverty and the effects of that, chronic absenteeism since the pandemic, and anxiety and depression of students. They're serving as behavioral and mental health experts in their classrooms in certain ways. So the picture, I encourage everyone to read the full report, but the teachers also speak about how fulfilling it is and how much they care about their students. And so the picture that's gotten about, not here in Hillsboro School District specifically, but across the nation right now, is that teachers are facing unique and potentially overwhelming challenges, but they're continuing in their work out of dedication and commitment to their students and their calling as a teacher. And so I think we should all be aware of that, and that trend, and continue as we work here in Hillsboro School District together to make what improvements we can. I know that it's a challenge facing the entire country, but we want to be a leader in figuring out solutions and ways to make sure teachers have what they need so that our students have what they need.
Thank you. Yvette, anything you want to add tonight?
Oh, yeah, just a few thank you. Over the last, let's say, 2 weeks, we've had Carol at the transportation department who did a presentation on electric buses, and that was very informative. And all 4 of us and Erica got to go, and Travis and Rose, and that was great. So thank you to Carol. I wanted to say also thank you to Brooke and everyone else who works with the Career and College Pathways that celebrated 10 years this past Tuesday, and that was also very great. And I got to do the aerospace tour, which was fantastic. And you know, the incredible work that you guys have done and continue to do with our students is phenomenal. And I am so grateful for everything that you do. And then we got to, Erica and I and Travis and Rose got to go to Century to one of the students wanted to do their, what is it called? Senior project. And so we got to listen to that, and that was pretty awesome too. So just thank you.
Thank you. Yes, shout out to Carol and the transportation department. It was very fun to get a ride on an electric bus. Finally got a chance when it wasn't in service. And then we had a propane bus on the way home, and it was, quieter than I expected it to be. And great information shared with us. As the owner of a couple of electric cars, I'm a big believer in the electrification of our transportation, but it doesn't come without challenges, and I'm glad that again express appreciation for Senator Solomon, at the time Senator Riley, Representative McLean, for working together to provide funding for us to do a pilot project and learn the things we didn't know, because having had my electric car for almost a decade, yeah, there's things you gotta be aware of that you don't with a gas car. So yes, thanks for that. As mentioned earlier, I thought we had a board meeting before then, but we don't. We do not have a board meeting before the Proud to Be HSD Festival, which is just a reminder, Saturday, May 11th at the Civic Center in the Civic Center Plaza, essentially. So it's a great opportunity to put on. You guys are going?
Yeah, our concert choirs are gonna sing.
Oh, what, do you know what time?
No.
All right.
Can you?
Oh, all right. Maybe you could share that with us at some point, because I'm sure it's walking distance from my new house. So
I was actually testing her, so yeah.
Yeah?
I was actually-
So yeah, it's a great opportunity to put on your HSD board gear, walk around and let people either say hi or yell at you, whatever the mood strikes them. All good though. Thank you to our community members for being here tonight. And you didn't have to stay, but you got to see like how local government works. So thanks for doing that. Yeah, I think that's about it. Thanks everybody, and we are adjourned.